Good morning. It's Sunday. How are you? That's the 15th, almost 9 o'clock in the morning here in Western Iowa, just a minute and a half away. And yeah, Sunday edition of the Weather Mic. So I'm very active in my church, and I run mostly the video during church, and I help with the setup and that sort of thing. And so today we have someone else who's now been trained, and I actually get to go to church like a regular person in about an hour. So, time to knock out a forecast for you. So, thank you so much for tuning in. 103 subs so far. That's nice. So, thank you for liking and subscribing. It means a lot. All right, let's start out with our hazards as we always do. And not a lot going on, which is good news, right? We don't want hazards. So, our watches and warnings here: winter weather advisory. So, be advised for parts of the Sierra Nevada in California. System moving in to the west coast, bringing lots of wind for Nevada, parts of California into Arizona and Utah. And then on the other coast, we have some flooding concerns still in a couple of areas, and that heat advisory that seems to be persistent down there in South Florida. Weather spotlight, spotlight, spotlight. You may know this, but in case you didn't, I know it kind of blew me away the first time I heard it. The National Weather Service has 6 years worth of hurricane names, and these are persistent and they just rotate through every year. And if a hurricane is devastating enough that causes enough damage or loss of life, that sort of thing, they will retire the name. And so we're on 2024. Our current hurricane current named tropical system in the Atlantic right now is Gordon. So if our system off the North Carolina coast, South Carolina coast forms into a tropical storm, a named storm, it'll be Helene. So this is how we come up with the names. You can go to the National Hurricane Center's website and pull these up for yourselves. It's pretty interesting. So like, for example, on the 2024 list, 6 years ago, Hurricane Michael was devastating enough where they retired the name. So the M name this year instead of Michael is Milton. And you'll also notice that the names alternate between hurricanes and himicanes. So that's something else to keep in mind, I guess. So looking at the tropics right now, there is Gordon in the middle of the Atlantic basin bothering nobody as a tropical storm. X marks the spot off the Carolinas, 40 to 60% chance of developing into Helene. And we'll show you, when we get into the radar, we'll show you the tropical low, at least the tropical moisture moving into South Carolina, North Carolina later in the week. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Pacific, they have a different set of lists, which I didn't pull up for you, but the current tropical depression, which is a weakening tropical storm, is Ileana, which is now in the Gulf of California. And the moisture of Ileana is moving northward into the Four Corners, namely Arizona. So we could see some heavy rainfall in Arizona today and into New Mexico as it taps into some of that moisture from Tropical Depression Ileana. And so some heavy rainers here perhaps as monsoon continues for the Four Corners. And when the moisture from tropical systems gets involved, it can get fun. But we're not looking at any flash flooding risks at this time, although in Arizona in the deserts, if you get a heavy rainer, a couple inches of rain in a short amount of time, of course, it's going to cause some flash flooding with those low-lying areas. But anyway, moving up the coast, California, there's our chance of mixed precipitation there in the Sierra Nevada, part of Nevada too. But Reno, you're looking at just rain. And then as you head into the plains, some showers and storms moving in. That's going to be very welcome. Coming up in a few days here in western Iowa. It's just slow moving into the plains, but it's been a couple weeks since we've had any rain, and that's a little unusual for this time of year. The heavy stuff down in Mississippi, Alabama, down to the coast, still dealing with some of that tropical moisture down there in the southeast. And New York with a spot of steadier rain. Chillier rain, I guess. I don't know how chilly it is because today's highs has New York State mainly in the 80s, some 70s and 80s. And so that's most of New England. 80s all the way down the mid-Atlantic coast, 80s to near 90 for Florida, but some 70s there in the rain-cooled air, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, into Arkansas and Missouri. Texas feeling the heat, mid to upper 90s here. Desert Southwest still a little hotter for now, but that's changing. But 101 for Phoenix. Looks like 100 for Lake Havasu. And then California cooling off, especially as you head into central and northern with 70s there. And the Pacific Northwest too, a little bit cooler as well, but still warm in the plains, like unusually warm. And we'll show you that here too. But here are the lows tomorrow morning, starting out in the 60s in the plains, 70s for Texas into Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, 70s to near 80 for lows, 70s up the mid-Atlantic coast, but transitioning to 60s as you get further inland, transitioning into 50s as you get up to Washington, D.C., into the Northeast. And kind of in between, you got 61 for Columbus, Ohio. I don't know why I always pick on Columbus. It's just easier to spot in the middle of Ohio there. Anyway, lows tomorrow, of course, on the hot side in the desert Southwest, but the West Coast is cool. I mean, not just because they're cool, but they're cool. All right, surface for tomorrow. We see more rain mixed with snow on this map for the West Coast with that system dropping temperatures, and temperatures will be dropping even in the desert Southwest with this as well. And we see our best chance for severe weather with that tropical low, South Carolina, North Carolina, a little bit of Virginia, so heavy rain, flash flooding possible with this one. And then the severe weather is also in that area. This is your tornado risk. So a 2% risk of tornadoes tomorrow afternoon for the North Carolina coast, basically. And then way up there, North Dakota into Minnesota with a slight risk as well. Temperature-wise tomorrow, departure from average. I mean, it's still very warm. Texas, a few degrees above average, but that goes into double digits above average in the northern plains. Eastern Wyoming, kind of the big winner here, almost 20 degrees above average where I live, about 10 degrees above average. These are highs tomorrow. We should be in the mid 70s here. It's going to be more like mid 80s, for example. And then you see the cool stuff out west. So California, Nevada, the bullseye for up to 20 degrees below average for highs tomorrow that look like this. And you see that big area of 50s and 60s for Nevada and California. Transitioning into 70s, pleasant for Central California and up the Oregon and Washington coast. Very nice. Cooling off in the desert Southwest, mid to upper 90s, Tucson to Phoenix. Still kind of, I mean, for this time of year, still hot for Texas. Although their averages, you know, in the mid to upper 90s or 80s, they'll be in the low to mid 90s. And then 80s transition up in the plains all the way up to the Canadian border, except a little bit cooler in North Dakota. And then we still see 70s in parts of the southeast with that rain. Also into the Carolinas now with an increased chance of rain coming in. So surface for Tuesday shows that low for North Carolina into South Carolina and Virginia. Scattered showers and storms here with all of that all the way down to the southeast. Our Pacific system bringing in that mixture of rain and snow, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. Yellowstone has seen some big snowflakes already, and they'll probably get a few more. Nevada, more snow. East of Salt Lake City, chance of rain and snow. Same with the Sierra Nevadas in California. More of a steady, cooler rain for Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. Those highs on Tuesday. 60s for the Willamette Valley and up the coast of Washington. 50s with elevation. 50s in the Intermountain West and even 40s with elevation. We're still in the 70s, Central California. Even cooler for the desert Southwest, 91 for Phoenix. You celebrate good times there. About the same for Lubbock at 90. Low to mid 90s throughout Texas, although San Antonio is still 97. And 80s in the plains, still all the way up to the Canadian border, except a little cooler in North Dakota. And transitioning to 80s as you head into the Midwest. 82 for Columbus, smack dab in the middle of Ohio. 70s, though, for mid-Atlantic into Virginia. And we see more 70s, Pennsylvania and New York State. Here's your 48-hour rainfall, just because I love this map. And we'll go from west to east because the east is most dramatic. But with that system moving in, Nevada's getting some much-needed rain, right? Don't you always need rain there? Pretty much. We're up to 1.5 inches of rain here. Isolated areas more, also for parts of southeastern Oregon. Now remember, eastern Oregon's a high desert, so there you go. Some rain for you. Idaho, widespread rain, mainly under an inch, but it's there. Arizona, here's your chance at rain. Could be an inch plus for some, and even a little bit more as you get to the New Mexico, Colorado border, especially up in the mountains. Up in the way northern plains, North Dakota, could see an inch and a half of rain or more in the next couple days. There's your swath of heavy rain from Arkansas through Mississippi down into Alabama. Some places here approaching 3.5. And then the big winner be South Dakota or South Carolina, North Carolina, with could see 4 inches plus along the coast as we watch that system move in. So let's watch that system move in on our future radar. This is the GFS model right here, initialized this morning, and we're starting at 12Z, which would be about 7 o'clock this morning, so about 2 hours ago. This would be an hour from now. And we see our low here off the coast of the Carolinas. I know it's off the Georgia coast, but it's moving northward into the Carolinas, so that's why. And then our heavy rains near Memphis into northern Mississippi, parts of Arkansas, Missouri. And watch that low hanging off the coast of South Carolina and then moving inland, northern South Carolina, with the bulk of the rain in North Carolina as we get into tomorrow or tonight and then tomorrow morning. So watch out as that low moves in with the spin. Could, we have that 2% risk of tornadoes tomorrow, mainly in North Carolina. So that's something to watch out for. And then we see our chilly rain with some mountain snows here as we get into the day tomorrow for California. We do see some of that monsoon moisture here and some heavier rain as we get up into North Dakota. So this is late Monday night, almost midnight here. And then as we get into Tuesday, you see the heavy rains persisting into Virginia. We see our system here in the Intermountain West. I know where my dad's, lives here in Northwest Montana. They've been dealing with a lot of smoke. And this system with the rain is going to dampen some of that. In fact, a lot of the fires that have been burning in the West, this is a welcome system to bring moisture and to help wash out the smoke out of the atmosphere. All right, as we get into Tuesday, we're starting to see more showers and storms now moving into the plains. I'm kind of excited about this because later in the week we have a chance of showers and storms where I live. And like I said, it's been a couple weeks. So 3 weeks without rain in September is unusual for this area, as I am finding out. So here we go with a low forming and the surface low forming in Montana with a lot of precipitation around that all the way down to the Texas Panhandle. We're at 6Z Wednesday, so this is pretty close to midnight Tuesday night, moving into Wednesday morning. Heavy rainfall for parts of Montana with that low. We see scattered storms here in the east. We see scattered showers from Oregon, California, with that chance of snow in the higher elevations here. As we watch this low winding up, very slow cold front because the low is not pushing eastward. So it's not pushing that air eastward. So the cold air, or cooler air, I should say, is really taking its time. But when we get into the day, finally, what is this, Thursday? So this is late Wednesday night and midnight here. And then into Thursday morning, you can see the chance of showers finally moving into the Midwest here. We still see lots of scattered rain from the Ohio Valley through the Mid-Atlantic as we get into the day on Thursday. We see a little bit of snow here east of Salt Lake City in the higher elevations there. And another round of storms for Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, a little bit into the Midwest, but stronger stuff up in Minnesota. And this gets us into Friday morning. And look at this Saturday. Now, as we get a week out, this is more a grain of salt, I guess you could say. Is that the saying? But this is late Friday. Some good big storms. Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, and into West Texas, eastern New Mexico. And so that'd be another area, a chance of showers and storms and some snow in the Rockies. Now, I really want to get out into speculation land. So as we move forward through I mean, we're already here on Sunday the 22nd, so a week from today. But I want to show a couple things. We've got another low bringing showers and storms to the Carolinas. We have more moisture moving into Texas, but there's a cold front coming, or at least it was on a previous run. So I want to see if it's still on this run, with the cold air pushing southward. So this is what I'm watching here for the end of the month. This is the 26th. Yep, it's still here. This is the 27th. And you see that snow moving down the east side of the Rockies and into the Rockies of Wyoming. A low forming here. Some heavy snow for eastern Wyoming. This is the 28th. And we'll see if, here's the 540 line through the Dakotas, Montana. So that cold air pressing at least into the central plains now on this run. And you can see those, really the cold front dipping down into West Texas now. This is the 29th. So we'll see. This, like I said, it's a good week or two away. But it looks like the end of the month, if these trends continue, we could see some nice Canadian air plunge southward and really cool off the plains all the way down into the South Plains. So definitely something to watch there. All right, let's go into our 6 to 10 day temperatures. And yeah, it's heating up in the Midwest and the Great Lakes and through the center of the country. And it's really cooling off in the West. And our precipitation is looking good for the plains, as we showed you. And I'm surprised there's not more on this map for the mid-Atlantic. But, again, these are the probabilities of above average rainfall. So it looks like still a good chance of above average rainfall along the East Coast and through the center of the country. Dry for Arizona, up through Northern California and Oregon, and dry eastern Great Lakes up into New England and even the Ohio Valley. All right, that is a whirlwind look at your weather. What do you think of I don't know, I'm trying to grow my hair out. It's kind of in between. It looks kind of weird to me because I'm not used to it. I don't usually wear it this way. But I've decided I'm not going to cut my hair. Maybe ever again. Grow the fro, bro. Anyway, that's a look at your weather through the month, really. And we'll see how things go, and we'll keep you posted as we go. I'm going to get ready for church. You have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you tomorrow, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, right here on the Weather Mic.